The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
You've always got time for short time.
Hey, it's Mario Lopez.
David Taylor.
Brent Metcalf. Johnny Hendricks. Tony Ramos. Bubba J.
Mike Golick.
Matthew Modine. The one and only Chael Sonnen. And you are listening to the one and only Short Time Wrestling Podcast by the often imitated and never duplicated Jason Bryant.
Welcome, everyone, to episode something.
I think it's 81.
81. It is 81.
349 on this end.
349. So 81 plus 349 of the USA Wrestling Short Time Bonus Points podcast. We are recording late at night, so forgive me if I make an error or stumble over my words. But World Championships preview. Got to put in the work. I'm excited for this, Jason. We have we have a great team going over to Paris, France, and that'll be next week. Competition starts on Monday, and we are going to do our best to outline the field and give you some insight onto the World Championships competition coming up. Jason, how's it going, man? It's a pleasure to see you, as always.
Long time no see. Matter of fact, that's Richard Immel. I'm Jason Bryant, since our host has been slaving away at promotional materials for USA Wrestling, while yours truly has been slaving away at stats and data ahoy. But yeah, just saw you in the wonderful world of Tampere, Finland, where the sun never sets. Got to spend some quality time in Helsinki and enjoyed quite the date night the last night we were there. And I just think, we just, that quality time, Richard, it's really something I long for at this time of year. And we get to do it again in Paris and again in Athens.
I'm pumped. Yeah, the Hilton Airport Hotel, I do believe, in Helsinki. I actually stayed a couple extra days, and it was a lovely town. I enjoyed Finland.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get to see much of Tampere. Andy Hamilton and I did walk around one night. I think you walked around with him like another night. I actually did not take my acclimation day, which is rare. Normally I take a day before so I can use that day before competition to acclimate. And this time I just was like, I landed, then the next day we're at work. So I was dragging rear end. But that ended real quickly with the performance of our men's freestyle team. And then three world champions in each of the three styles, which had never been done before. So we had a lot to talk about. We kind of got bogged down in the lack of any type of preparation for the short weighing bonus in combined podcast with you, me, and Andy from the Grilson restaurant and bar in Finland. But that was a good team. It's crazy, and we're going to talk about the junior success how it translates into the senior level, because we've got some numbers we'll talk about as we go through each style. But this is one of the situations where Richard and I will sit here and we will. There's a lot of names we're going to throw at you because, we don't like to be wrong. So we're going to throw as many names at you as we can so we can cover every single one of our bases. Richard, the Olympic preview, the NCAA previews are some of our greatest shows on the network that are the combined bonus point short time episodes. So I am pumped. I'm color coded. I'm spreadsheeted out. I'm Google Doc'd out. We're set to go.
We are set to go.
And I'm beard up.
So before we get to that fun story about Finland, my belt broke on the first day. So I am now rocking a Finnish belt from Moment. I got that at the mall in Finland. So it's a nice brown. Interesting. I'm turning European. You know the Europeans, they've sort of accepted me as one of their own. They've seen me so much.
Yeah,
over the
because
past year.
You don't complain like an American, according to them. It's like,
yeah, that's what I was told.
You've got to tell that story. You got to at least preface this story with.
Okay, so the story goes, I'm talking with one of the UWW guys. We're actually in a cab going back we were in Argentina for Cadet Pan Ams. And the guy goes, Richard, you are no good. You're no good. You're not American. You don't complain enough. I was like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, you're European now. And I was like, okay. And then everyone else in the car sort of agreed. That's the bullet points of it. But Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with those guys at UWW. The video team and as well as the media team, specifically at the Pan Am Championships, all three, and the Grand Prix of Paris I was at earlier in the year. Which actually, that believe it or not, we have some guys that are contending for the world title that I saw there that are some names that weren't necessarily there in the previous quad. So we'll have some insight on that. And Jason was at the European Championships. So we've got our bases covered as far as actually seeing these people in person this year, which is a unique perspective I think we can bring.
Yeah, neither of us did make it to New Delhi, though. So
I almost did. I was preparing for the trip, but we just decided it wasn't in the cards. I've been traveling enough already, so...
You got an upgrade back from Buenos Aires too. I'm talking to Richard about something unrelated, and he's like sending me pictures. He's delirious. He's like, "Upgrade, biatch." It was just like business class for a 10-hour flight.
It was. We were on the plane for 14 hours because we didn't take off. We were on the runway for 4 hours before we took off, which is not something that happens in the U.S. So when you go overseas, you just gotta expect the unexpected, kind of like Big Brother. Speaking of which, halfway through that season, we don't need to go there.
I want to go on that tangent. First of all, Josh sucks. I think he might be one of the worst players in Big Brother history. Hashtag BB19.
I'm not caught up. I'm 4 episodes behind, so don't ruin anything.
Okay, I'm actually caught up. I did not say, as we record this on August 15th, have not watched the show tonight. We'll watch tonight's tomorrow, but by the time you listen to this, it's today, so yesterday. But no spoilers. I just think he sucks. It's just like episode 1. Yeah, I ain't going nowhere. Who are you? Oh, man.
You meatball?
Yeah, the meatball thing is just, I don't know. I got to say the production, though, this year has been pretty good because with Cody moving his neck and it's just like, it's been really good. So
yes, that's one of our guilty pleasures. Yeah. Thank you for indulging. I won't go into
You're a Game of Thrones guy, and they're all during Fargo, him and Taylor and all these other people are making Game of Thrones jokes, and I'm sitting there as like, you aren't including me because I don't know what that means. It's like Kings of the North. What does that even mean? Like, I don't even know. I just know that kinglier is a verb or something like that. I know Jon Snow. Bill May actually asked me to get him get this. He asked me to get him a shirt that says, what is it? I'm not a princess, I'm Khaleesi or something like that. And he was getting it for his ex-wife. So I understand that there's probably a joke there, or like a dragon woman or so. I don't even know. But no GOT. I haven't even started episode 1, which means all these spoilers on Twitter, I won't remember by the time I get to season 6 or season 7, whatever we are.
Yeah, well, call me dedicated, but I watched 2 episodes in Finland at 4 a.m., and then we're going to have to do the same thing in Paris at 3 a.m. because that's when the show comes out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that with Old Dominion football, too, as their season kicks off when we're in Greece. So I'm going to have to use the old VPN and log in to the home. I'm subscribing to such things. I do not advocate use for illegal piracy of anything, although I do remember watching ODU versus Campbell from Moscow in the lobby of the hotel in 2010 when they were the football bowl championship subdivision. It was like Campbell had just started. It was just like the tiniest field. It looked like I was watching like a high school JV game. What are you watching, USC? Nah, Campbell and ODU. I got some funny looks.
Yeah. Well, now we got our ODU reference in, so that's good. I'm glad we got that one in. You mentioned jokes earlier. I think the joke is on the listeners thinking they were going to get wrestling talk, when really you get Big Brother, Game of Thrones, ODU.
And which particular beverage that I'm drinking tonight? It is the Lift Bridge Brewing Farm Girl Saison. So that's about done out of my Bull Island brewing glass that I got at my 20-year high school reunion. So now that we've gotten all this, the giggles out of the way.
We kept it to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's good for us.
It's actually good for us. The one time we did this, it was 45 minutes in before we actually even said any wrestlers' names. Come on, was our Olympic, all right, we said it.
Our Olympic podcast last year. That was great.
D'Angelo Hancock. All right. Yeah, I actually mentioned a wrestler that's in the tournament.
So let's just go through this, man. We've got 6 days of wrestling. I think we agreed that just going sort of day by day and breaking down the fields in each weight class day by day, as you will see them come across your screens.
Step by step.
Step by step.
Day by day. TGIF. I don't know. You might be a little young for that.
I am. Don't worry about it.
It's coming to Netflix, by the way.
Okay, Netflix. We're all over the place here, Jason. Greco 71. Let's start with that. Monday, August 21st is the first day of wrestling. You'll have 4 Greco-Roman weight classes going 71, 75, 85, and 98. I think we just sort of start at the bottom. Greco 71. And, for the U.S., we've got Pat Smith going, Minnesota guy. You got to like his progression over the years. He's sort of been at the top, kind of behind Lester the last few years. But Pat Smith getting his first crack at a World Championships. And, I know he's one of these guys that's going to be prepared and ready to roll when the time comes around.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought there as I interrupt.
Thought was finished. Continue, my friend.
Well, what Pat did is he also spent a semester studying abroad. He's a graduate of the University of Minnesota, was part of the Golden Gopher team, but had been focusing on Greco. Did spend about 3-4 months in Sweden training over there. So he's got a few different looks. Came through, really pushed him to make that finally make that senior world team. The second wrestler from Chaska High School to make a world team. Of course, Andy Bisick being the other one. Pat, University silver medalist a couple years ago. So he's got that. He's got a prime resume in terms of his experience internationally. It's just this is a deep field. I mean, you've got 3 world champions at this weight alone. So it's gonna take a favorable draw to get this thing to work. I mean, Bolkvadze is there. Schmage. Frank Stabler from Germany is there. Other world medalist. I mean, Balint Korpasi, he looked good winning the European Championships. He's just this is a tough weight. You've got to be really strong, focused, and energized to come through and get a medal here. I mean, let's see, by my count, we've got 3 wrestlers that have won world championships. We've also got a World Military Games champion. We got 3 world bronze medalists in here. And it's just, actually, no, we got another champion that I missed as I didn't scroll up. Rasul Chanayev, Olympic bronze medalist, world champ. So 4 world champs at this weight class. Pat Smith's going to have to be on his game, and the draw is going to have to be what it is, but the draws are a little different with some seeding the way it is, Richard.
Yeah, and a couple other notes. In general, for Greco-Roman, they're going to be the biggest brackets. The most countries compete in Greco. They're always the biggest brackets. That obviously adds to the list of competitors that you have to sort of navigate. And this weight class, as you mentioned, very deep. Let me also highlight, we do have seeds for the World Championships this year. So based on a point classification system, 4 athletes in each weight class have been seeded. Now, that does not mean that they are actually in the field or at that said weight class that they are seeded. It's just based on wrestling at the weight at the qualification tournaments where you earn seeding points. So the Olympics and the Continentals, essentially, if you won a medal there, you place there, then you get points based on the tournament, right? So for 71 kilos, for example, I will name you the seeds. Number 1, Balint Korpasi of Hungary, you mentioned him. Got Hassan Aliyev of Azerbaijan, number 2. And he's obviously not in the tournament. Alexander Maksimovic of Serbia is the 3 seed. And Pavel Laika, Belarus. Did I say that right? You're the pronunciation guy. He is the 4 seed. And
that's when I'm going to have to go pull up my
maybe
sheet
it's
from
Liak.
Europe. Yeah, I want to say Liak with a chach, but I don't see the Serb in here. I don't see Maksimovic in our initial entry list. So
right. So let me also explain how this works. So based on our entry list here, 2 of the 4 eligible seeds are in this weight class, in this bracket, expected to compete. So assuming those 2 seeds, Korpasi at number 1 and Liak of Belarus.
You got to have more phlegm.
As the number 4 seed.
You can read it? I'm just clearing my throat.
Yeah, you're good.
Space
so what UWW is going to do is if someone that is seeded is not wrestling, they essentially scratch them and the seeds bump up. So no one else comes into the seeding at top 4. It's only 4 eligible guys. In this case, Korpasi will be split on the top side of the bracket from Liak on the bottom. So that's essentially how it's going to work. You'll see that that's a common theme throughout. So just because someone's 1 and 2, that doesn't mean that it's going to be split that way. So just keep that in mind
also,
as we move forward.
The United World Wrestling Rankings have basically nothing to do with how this works. And also, just so you don't freak out and be like, well, why don't they just fill up based on the numbers? Well, the placements beyond the bronze medal losers, so it's 1, 2, 3, 3, 5, 5. Well, after that, 7, 8, 9, 10. And those 7 through 10 placements are rather arbitrary because you don't wrestle back through. You could tech a guy from like Sierra Leone and, okay, there's your 4 classification points, or you get a forfeit or something, and then 3 guys lose 2-1 matches, and you're higher than them. So I think wisely, they're not using those 7 through 10 placements to determine seating separation criteria. And I'm going to say I'm going to lean toward the side of caution here, is because, okay, when you're starting something brand new, don't just throw it out there and be like, okay, this is what it's going to be, when you have like a guy that was like 10th in the world that just fell into a 10th in the world, and all of a sudden that guy is seated from, I don't know, Palau or something. So let's just consider that this is a starting point. This is not the solution. This is the beginning. So next year, when we have the Continentals, the Worlds to draw on from this year, which are huge, plus I believe 7 additional international events that are on the UWW calendar, like the Grand Prix, the Eurigans, things like that. I'm sure the Schultz and the NYAC or the Bill Farrell might be on those lists as well. Mongolian Open, things like that. So we'll have a much deeper field to draw from next year, but they have to start. This is essentially ground zero when it comes to how the seeds work. And now, keeping with this weight, we don't want to spend a whole lot of time here, but Korpasi and Liach, that was the finals of the European. So, and one thing you're going to see, the depth of the European Championships are really going to prevail through this. Korpasi won 4-0 back in Novi Sad, Serbia, which is a wonderful place, by the way. And I'm not just joking about that. I really enjoyed my time in Novi Sad, but this weight class, I just got to think that Chinaev, early favorite. Champions usually going to come from the European continent in Greco-Roman. I mean, you talked about the entries, 293 preliminary entries. Now, there are some dupes in there because France has registered like 3 wrestlers per weight class at every division. So, but this is the biggest, and that might come as a shock to the Americans that, the foreign folks like the Greco more than we do.
They do. I'm in agreement with you on Chinaev. I think he's one of my favorite Greco guys to watch in general. He's got that mean headlock, comes out of nowhere.
Great footwork.
Great footwork. He'll put on a dance for you after he wins. So he's kind of where I would peg, as the leader in the clubhouse, so to speak. I think maybe someone else to watch. I like this Ruslan Sarev guy of Kyrgyzstan. I like Kyrgyzstan. They really have this way about them. They don't necessarily always enter a guy at each weight, but when they do, they always bring the fight. And they're sort of emerging. They had a
real good junior worlds for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd say watch out for him as a sort of dark horse guy to pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, I think this weight, you got the hammers, and they're pretty much going to lock up the medals. It's going to be hard for anyone to crack that code unless, of course, we get a lopsided bracket, which, happens more often than not, I think.
It has been known to happen, yeah.
Yes. So why don't we move on to 75? Perennially the toughest Greco-Roman weight class. The depth at 75 has always been incredible. I think the one year in Las Vegas, we had 6 world champs competing. What do we have this year at 75?
At first glance, looks like 1, 2. It looks like just 3 in terms of world championships. We got a couple Olympic medalists in there, and Brian Hazard was helping me do some of the research. One thing that jumped out is Thomas Lawrence, and I know you're a big fan of the Lawrences from Hungary. Mm-hmm. This guy has been on a world team for Hungary at senior, junior, and the cadet level 14 different times. I mean, you can't turn your head or throw a rock and hit the ground before you can hit a Lawrence in the Hungarian wrestling lineup. So, that's a pretty weak cliche. I mean, Abdvali from Iran is here. Kim from Korea is here. You got, a handful of junior medalists coming up. You got a junior world champ from a couple years ago, Kilov from Belarus in here. I mean, there are a lot I mean, as I color code my spreadsheet, I see a lot of gold. I love gold. You know, it's a lot here. So maybe I don't think it's as deep as in recent years. I mean, one thing I don't see from the Russian Federation is a guy named Vlasov. So
yes,
because he's moving up.
He's moving on up to 80 kilos. So I'll run down the seeds for you at 75. Vlasov is the number 1 seed. He's out. Bin Yang of China, number 2 seed.
Out.
Do we have you? Out.
Yeah, that's going to be Zhang Gang.
Then Mark Madsen.
Mark Overgaard Madsen. Is this guy ever going to win a freaking world championship?
Yeah, well, he's the 3 seed, but it doesn't look like he's entered. And then you've got Hyunwoo Kim.
Oh, he's up at 80, by the way. Another one.
Who, Kim?
Madsen.
Madsen's up at 80, yeah. So, yeah, you got Kim as your only seeded athlete, so essentially seeding's a moot point here. And Kim, I think Kim's a favorite. The one thing I will note about him is, watching him, his strong suit is really that parterre game. He has a huge lift from parterre with Kim. So I'm curious to see, last year at the Olympics, last time I really saw all of these guys compete, the parterre, especially in Greco-Roman, is the difference maker. So I'm curious to see, how the winds shake out now that it's primarily a neutral game, and if that alters, the pecking order, so to speak. But if Kim gets on top, I think he'll throw anyone with that lift he has. But yeah, I mean, and even someone you didn't mention was Julfillet Khan. Is he in there? No, never mind. See, again, we should probably mention
Armenia's got Karapet Chalayan there, junior world champion 13, world military games champion. So here's a guy laying in weight behind Julfillet Khan, who's one of the better Greco guys in the world, and obviously he's a world champion, and one of the more personable guys too. I mean, he speaks English really well. He came to the U.S. and wrestled Kyle Dake at Madison Square Garden. It's a guy I've found some Americans that root for that guy when he's not wrestling an American. So speaking of an American, guy named Mason Manville.
Heard of him?
Maybe 20 years old, Youth Olympic Games silver medalist. Oh, cadet world champion, freestyle.
Yeah, I'm really curious about Manville here, and not a whole lot of international experience. He has been overseas, but we haven't seen him at this sort of Greco-Roman caliber before. But you do have to consider. Look at what Kamal Bey did at the Junior Worlds, and he just torched the Junior Worlds. Manville beat Kamal Bey twice to make the spot on the team. So
in a row,
you got to at least like that trajectory there for Mason Manville. And he's training in the Penn State room, training with the Army guys. He's got a wealth of knowledge around him from a coaching perspective. Good wrestling family, been solid all the way, from the little leagues on up. So he's got the pedigree. I think, maybe his lack of experience could be problematic here, given the depth of the field, as we said. But I'm more curious than anything about him. And how he's able to navigate this bracket. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Mason. See how he goes.
South County, Virginia, represent. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, no. One thing that I'm looking at this weight that jumps out to me is it's not just the depth that in theory it may not be here with guys like Madsen and Vlasov up, but we talked about the Chalayan, the junior world champion here, and then what we don't know about Manville, we've got Olympians all over the place. We've got Lawrence, we've got Abdvali. This is going to be a fun weight class, and there's one guy I really want to keep an eye on, and it's an interesting story. It's Tarek Abdel Salam, and if that name sounds Egyptian, well, it is, but he wrestles for Bulgaria. He's a junior world bronze medalist back in 2013 from Egypt. Emigrated. He was actually working at like a kebab stand, and I'm not making this up. Or it was basically like in a food truck in Bulgaria. Had some issues with the federation in Egypt. Emigrated to Bulgaria, comes out, wins the European Championships, and beats Chingiz Labazanov from Russia in the finals. And Labazanov is not chopped liver here, so he's done some pretty good things in wrestling. So this is a guy I think is a real good medal shot, if not the dark horse to come away with a gold medal. So one of the Europeans looked real good in doing it. So keep an eye on Tarek Abdel-Salam from Bulgaria.
Thomas Lawrence for the win.
Lawrence.
I always pick him, and he always just doesn't win when I pick him. Let's see. Moving up to 85.
85.
Let's hit that 85 kilo.
Let's see. We got Olympic champ in here. We got a world. Let's see. Well, I got a bunch of stuff. Again, I'm trying to read my own notes here. So, only one senior level world champ here at the weight, with the exception of that's pretty much it. So we got a couple Olympic medalists in here. We got a Olympic bronze with Kudla from Germany. He's in the mix. World bronze medalist with Viktor Lawrence in there. Javid Gamzatov from Belarus. So I'd say this is like your typical Greco weight. You got about 4 or 5 guys that have won medals, and then some guys behind it that are waiting in this the year after the Olympics. So this is also a breakout year for this quad.
I agree. You're going to see that, sort of as a trend throughout the weight classes. Who's going to sort of step up and make the name for themselves, break out. Reading the seeds for 85 kilos, Viktor Lawrence of Hungary. You got Bayrakov of Bulgaria, Chakvatadze, the Olympic champ at the 3 seed.
Wait,
and
he's
then
the Olympic champ's the 3 seed.
We're correct.
We got to work on these seeds, Immel. This is bull crap. Sorry, I'm just channeling every wrestling fan ever.
Yeah. Well, and Zon Belenyuk of Ukraine.
And he's not entered.
Yeah, he's not entered. So, looking at that, Chakvatadze is it's probably your favorite, right? He'd have to be your favorite going in. But I think he's one of those guys that is susceptible to a loss to a guy like Lorenz or maybe Gamzatov of Belarus.
Yeah, if Belenyuk was in the weight, I'd be a lot more favorable at saying maybe there's somebody that can knock him off. But Chakvatadze is just, when Belenyuk was on that run, Chakvatadze is the guy that knocked him off. So,
right.
At his weight, he's 24 years old, coming off a 10th place finish in Vegas and then wins the Olympic championship. So I think he's just hitting stride. So, I don't want to say it's hard to say him versus everybody else in such a balanced type of weight class in Greco-Roman, but just credentials alone and his track record, he's definitely the favorite.
Oh yeah, absolutely, he's the favorite. But with Greco-Roman, I think you're more prone to see an upset than you are in the other styles. Talking about Ben Provisor here, 85 kilos. Ben, this is his first world team, right?
Yeah, he's been on two Olympic teams.
But first world team, so it's kind of the same experience, but there are some differences to it. Obviously, the brackets are going to be bigger here. It's a little, you're able to focus a little bit more on the world championships too, I think. Without the Olympic distraction or the bigness of it. But Ben has looked solid since he came up to this weight class. He's a guy that he can go with anyone. He can keep the matches low scoring. That's typically what he does, is keep it low scoring. Just pressures with that underhook. Came off a Pan American title, looked good doing so down in Brazil. As did Pat Smith. We didn't mention that earlier, but Pat Smith, Pan Am champ, and Cheney Haight, who we will talk about later. But I think Ben is good. He's got the experience. I think it's just a matter of finding the right matchups, and he's going to be in there with whoever he's wrestling. Doesn't matter who it is. He's going to fight. He's going to bring the battle to him, and it's just going to come down to if he can get a takedown or not from the neutral position. So, that's pretty much where I stand on 85 kilos. Do you have any other parting words for that weight class?
Yeah, I'm really just kind of perusing on guys that I'm keeping a look at. Hamzatov again. We mentioned him from Belarus. That's a guy to watch. Not really. There's nothing really to write home about this one. It's nothing that I'm really like, okay, yeah. European silver medalist was Menahan Bashar from Turkey, who lost to Lawrence, but nothing about that weight class really stood out. So I'm content with jumping to 98.
Moving on up then, 98 kilos. Your seeds. Olympic champ Artur Alexanian of Armenia. He's the 1 seed, silver medalist. Yasmani Lugo Cabrera of Cuba is the 2. Balas Kiss of Hungary, the 3. And Cenk Ildim, Turkey, number 4. So that's actually pretty good seeding, relatively speaking to the field, I think. But one thing I have seen, Alexanian, he went on that run, since Budapest when he finished second. He hadn't lost a match, up through Rio after that. He won the Worlds twice and then won the Olympics. And he was one of those guys that was extremely dominant. But he has suffered a little bit this year. I think he was banged up, had a knee injury or something, and hasn't been performing.
Had that weird situation, too, where he was like disqualified in a match because there was a fight at a Russian tournament. Imagine that.
Shocker.
No guns pulled on this one, I believe.
So Alexanian, he finished 3rd at the Euros. I mean, maybe you can give some perspective on how he looked.
Yeah, a little sluggish, and that kind of leads into the guy who I think if wrestling fans liked what they saw from Kamal Bey, they're going to like what they see from Felix Baldoff from Norway. And he's the guy who knocked off Alexanian, ended up winning the Europeans this year. Guy is just, he's freaking jacked. He's tatted up, got a good sleeve on him. It looks mean and can wrestle. Looks like a guy you don't want to run into in a back alley and can back it up on the wrestling mat. So he is a grip it and rip it type of wrestler. Let's lock up, let's throw, let's go. So when the Norwegian Felix Baldoff steps on the mat, you're going to definitely want to take notice. And the Europeans was kind of his breakout performance. He only was, he had a bronze medal in 2014, but that field the way it was, he came out of that. I mean, there's world champion, Kiss and Alexanian were both bronze medalists in that weight class. They're both past world champions. This guy who is, I got a junior bronze 3 years ago. He wins it. I don't know if he's going to be the favorite because of his lack of world level experience and being there before. I'm not going to say the lights on, but there's that experience of knowing what it's like to be at the world championships. But he's a guy that's going to be fun to watch, folks. And same with the giant headlocker from Uzbekistan, Rustam Asakalov. He is ferocious. We saw him in Vegas make a strong run to a silver medal, like tight head and arms. Like you're just sitting there looking at yourself going, did he just throw a headlock in the world championship? Yeah, it's a world championship. It's Greco. You're going to throw the head and arm. But those are the two guys. When you talk about grip and rip, and Asakalov's the guy who beat Provisor last year at the Olympics. So he's up a weight at 98. Let's see how successful he is with the move up. But those are two guys from just a sheer action standpoint you're going to want to watch.
I echo your sentiments on Baldoff. I saw him at Grand Prix of Paris in January. He won that, and he was mightily impressive. But again, it was a name I wasn't familiar with. So seeing him tear through the Paris field, and then seeing what he does at the Europeans, then he won the Petlansky Cup as well. And he beat the Russian entrant.
Spell that.
Avlov. Petlansky?
Yeah. Don't.
Yeah, so I really like him. I like him, but I think I'm with you on the, can he do it on the big stage? You got to wait and see. I mean, you got other guys, Numon V of France, wrestling
he's been around
country.
Forever.
Yeah.
This guy is 900
champ.
years old.
Yeah, but he's a guy that he won the Worlds in 2014, and then he just sort of dropped off the radar. Maybe wrestling in his home country gives him a little boost. The year after the Olympics, maybe he goes on a run. That wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, he's been on 3 Olympics. He's 34. I mean, I turned 38 when I'm in Paris, but I mean, it's like Melon Numon V. I first saw him. I believe it was I'm pretty sure he was the world silver in 2009 in Denmark. And that was, I remember going over there. I don't think I remember seeing him in 2007, but definitely, yeah. And to win a world title like we were in Tashkent, let's never mention that name again. In 14, 5 years later, and he's not that. I mean, he's not really in the prime of his career in terms of wrestling terms. You're looking 25, 26, 27 is when you're hitting that stride, and he hit that stride once, and still performing in his 30s. So.
Let's talk a little bit about D'Angelo Hancock.
Kind of got hosed.
Coming off a disappointing Junior Worlds.
Disappointing, got hosed.
He got hosed.
Leg foul.
Say what you will, he did not medal at the Junior Worlds. After looking, he looked great. He looked great throughout the tournament. Looked fantastic. He's looked great this year. He actually took on the Cuban who won Olympic silver and is currently your number one ranked wrestler, Lugo Cabrera. He took him on at the Pan Ams, and that was a close match. I mean, that was a really close match. Hancock brought the fight to him. I do believe he beat Turkey's medalist, Ildim, at the World Clubs Cup this year. So he's wrestled 2 Olympic medalists this year, and he's gone toe-to-toe with them, beating one. So he's got the talent, he's got the abilities.
He's got the strength, he's got the focus, he's got the energy.
He's got the energy, and I think he's got a little motivation coming off the Junior Worlds. He's going to have a little extra pep in his step. He was not a happy camper after that, as you would expect. But, maybe that's the little nugget he needed to break through and get a medal here at the seniors. I mean, this is obviously a bigger carrot for him. So I'm really excited about his outlook. He's one of the young guys coming up, and you're really excited about his future, but you'd like to see it really take place now in his first trip to the World Championships. He has the potential to do big things. It's just a matter of putting it all together one by one and letting it rip. I think, that is one thing. If I do criticize him, it's maybe he doesn't let it rip as much like a Kamal Bey, but not many people do. So if he's on his offense and lets it fly, I think he's got a really good shot here to do some damage.
Yeah, just like to see, again, grip it and rip it. Let's let the fur fly. Let's throw every cliche we can at you.
Yes.
Let's one thing to throw out here is we do keep track of wrestlers who have competed at American universities, whether or not they be American or not. But there is one name in this weight class. Let me find my sheet, and let's just do the notes thing. It says Thomas Barrero from Canada, representing Greco at this weight. Yes, the Canadians. They typically don't do a whole lot of Greco, Andy Ross, Joe Dasho. But Thomas Barrero wrestled at American University in D.C., so shout out to the American college wrestling scene there. I don't know if Mr. Barrero's a medal threat or not, but probably leaning towards not. But hey, give Teague Moore and the Eagles a little love there. That's I don't know if we want to get into any like. I don't want to say, I don't know. You can't really say Canada's another ethnicity, although Mr. Barrero is actually Native. I don't want to say Native American because he's Canadian. So, okay, I'll just shut up now. Can we move to the next weight class?
Greco-Roman 59 kilos. This will be the next day.
August 22nd.
Yes, we have moved on to the second day. This one, again, a lot of turnover, I think. Your Olympic champ and world champ previously, Ismael Barrero Molina. He's also the number 1 seed. He's also not wrestling, so that really throws a monkey wrench in there. Number 2 seed is Shinobu Ota, and I don't think he's wrestling either. He's the number 2 seed and was the Olympic silver last year. Let's double check that.
Yeah, do not see him on the entry list.
Yeah, not wrestling.
And again, this entry list that we're working off of is as of August 14th. I pulled mine yesterday, double-checked it. There were some changes initially, one of which is Radoslav Vasilev from Bulgaria in the tournament. We'll talk about that in a little bit on in Angelov not in, so that's one thing that wasn't mentioned. But continue with your seeds.
Sorry. Ota, he is actually not wrestling because he lost to Kenshiro Fumita, who is not seeded, but was your Asian champ. And interesting, those guys are 2 and 3 in the world rankings. But
not yet. Fumita really has nothing in terms of the world level to back it up. He's just 21, just coming off the junior mat. So,
yeah. So that's someone to sort of keep an eye on. Your 3 seed is Taz Muradov of Uzbekistan, also not entered. So, meaning the only seeded wrestler will be Stig Andre Berge.
Berge.
Yeah.
Stig is he is another guy who's 900 years old. He's been on 11 world teams. He's 34. He's been on 3 Olympic teams. And the match that him and Spencer Mango wrestled in 2014 for bronze was like the battle of guys who have been there forever that had never won a medal. And neither of them, I mean, it was basically a situation with the rules dictated, let's pick a winner. We don't know why. So
right, it was just passivity points. There was no offensive.
And Steke's been a guy. He's been around. He's made so many trips to the United States. Again, 34 years old, has been there, won a bronze medal at the Olympics. He's the 1 seed. And hey, guess what? Fire up the train for the Norwegians. We've talked about Berhe and Baldoff today.
Yeah, and you got to like his prospects looking at this weight. It's kind of cleared out, if you want to say that. I mean, you don't have the big names there anymore.
I mean,
it's got to
you've got Yoon-won Chol from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
That's correct.
Another bronze medal, world bronze medalist there from 15. So those are the two big names on the senior level. You've got a junior world champion, Dado Chikarashvili from Georgia. He's 20 years old. He's probably, I think, the next one to really keep an eye out. He took a bronze medal at the European Under-23 Championships back in March. He's probably the guy you want to circle on your bracket, depending on where he sits, if he's in those little, like, the qualifications or whatever. But, the Georgian, he's good.
Yeah, and you also want to keep an eye on the Russian, Maryanyan.
Tell me something I don't know.
Well, he's a guy that you're kind of just waiting to break through. And, I think this looks like a prime year for that.
Could he place higher at the Worlds than he did the Russian Nationals? Because he was only third at the Russian Nationals.
I think
this could conceivably happen.
Yes, I think so. And, outside of that, I'm not seeing a lot of...
Hey, you gotta say it. We'll channel our inner nomad here. Good job, Ildar. Ildar Hafizov making his first appearance for the United States. Olympian and world teamer from Uzbekistan. Got his citizenship. Army World Class Athlete Program, makes the team. Got a different look. People are going to see an American in the draw. They're like, oh, it's an American. Oh, crap. It's an Uzbek. So,
yeah, and Ildar's tough, man. It took him maybe a little bit to get adjusted. He went back and forth with Mango. He lost the Olympic spot to Thilke last year. But he's a guy, man. He might be our best medal threat, given the weight class and the strength. Comparing his abilities to the field and his experience, I think he might be our best shot at a Greco medal this year. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, how the draw is going to shake out. Everyone's basically blind draw here. But I mean, point to a guy on this table that he can't beat, or at least go with. I mean, it's hard to find. So you got to be really excited about that. And for those of you who haven't watched him, Ildar's got some moves. He'll throw you. I mean, he's got that Uzbek technique, so to speak, but it's sort of intertwined with what he's learning down at the Army WCAP. And I mean, he's a guy to watch for sure. He might be the quote unquote dark horse of this weight class.
How does he rock the Bruce Robinson flat bill WCAP hat, though?
He rocks it well. He also does not like to do interviews. He'll do them, but he's not a fan. But his English is getting much better, I will say. So great guy too. Great guy.
One thing that jumps out at me, and I don't know if this is a byproduct of a certain federation failing to enter on time, is Christian Fries, the European champion from Serbia, not entered. And
I noticed that
he was their first ever European champion. Now, when I did an interview with Nenad Lalovic, I talked about him being the first European, and he actually went back and said, no, we had a Serbian, but it was back when they were still Yugoslavia. And then Ivo Angelov not entered, the silver medalist from Bulgaria. I mentioned that at the beginning. And Lizatovic is the only medalist from the European. He's from Croatia. He's a guy to keep an eye out. But I'm just amazed at Christian Fries from Serbia not in the field as of August 15th. And I'm not sure what the deadline is, but I mean, this is a serious medal contender that's, for lack of a better term, riding the pine.
Yeah. Shout out to the Congo having an entrant here. Well, Jonathan Ibanda.
Yeah. Now this is the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Right.
And I'm not, there's the Congo is, there's a more political strife we need to probably avoid as Americans.
There's always something.
Hint, nudge.
Okay, let's move on to 66 kilos. Fun weight class here, I think. 66, the seeds are as such. Davor Stefanik, past world champ. Was he bronze in Rio? I do believe.
Actually, Davor's not even entered at 66. That's another thing. Serbia's got some turnover here.
Oh, they've got Nimes in there.
Mate Nemish.
Okay,
we'll come back to that.
Yeah, so Stefanic's the 1 seed. Benayyassa, Algeria, 2 seed. I don't think he's in there, is he?
He's up a weight. He's up a weight. He's up at 71. We've already skipped over him. So
that leaves you with Artunian at the 3 seed, who is not entered.
Benayyassa was the guy that broke Bryce Sidoris' face, right?
That's right. Yes, the repechage.
Sorry, Bryce. Worlds. I mean, it's Robbie Smith quoted as like, that guy wrestled with a broken face.
And Artem Surkov of Russia is the 4 seed. So once again, Surkov, the only seeded guy in the weight class that's going to compete.
And Surkov was impressive at the Europeans, and he beat Stefanik. And Stefanik at the European Championships had the big home crowd behind him. People were expecting Stefanik to win it, and it was Priest that won it. Stefanik took silver, and it was like a giant buzzkill. Everybody just got up and left. Seriously, they just got up and left. Like, crap. But
so
Surkov,
I think
he looked good. He looked good. So I'm just going to circle him right now. He's my guy.
He's probably one of the favorites. I mean, who else you got in here? You got Hansu Ryu.
He good.
From Korea. He's not bad. What is he? World champ and
champ 13, silver 15.
And
then one of my favorite names to broadcast and pronounce, and I will have to do this, and I'll actually mention this, that during the broadcast for the Junior Worlds and the Europeans and the European Juniors, I've got to say 24 names a day when I'm broadcasting. In Paris, I'm the PA announcer, so I've got to say every name. And I want to say this name, Almat Kepespayev, Kazakhstan.
I was going to bring him up.
He's like one of my favorite wrestlers to watch. Olympic silver medalist in 12, world bronze medalist in 15. And he's just, again, another guy that's fun to watch in Greco. So, plus I just like saying his name, Almat Kepespayev. Dude.
He's a beast. He's trained here quite a bit because Kazakhstan comes over for the Schultz tournament. So he's wrestled in the room. He's a treat. You know who? Speaking of names, I love Taz Muradov. I mentioned him earlier, but Uzbekistan, Olympic bronze medalist. Man, he is fun to watch too. He just goes out like a Tasmanian devil, right? Like what I did there.
Taz Murad, yeah, okay.
Taz.
We could see an Asian Championship rematch here. I mean, this was the, I mean, not a rematch. Excuse me. I mean, Taz Muradov. Get my facts wrong. Asian Champ 13. I'm just curious, Kepespayev, silver medalist in 17. I'm going to have to do a little digging here real quick because I did not come completely prepared. So, Richard, I'm looking at you to do the fist in the air. Give me a quick stall call.
Okay, stalling on Jason.
So I am looking at who defeated Mr. Kepespayev at the World Championship, at the Asian Championships in New Delhi. I might help if I clicked Greco instead of LL. Ladies love Cool James. Of course, my Apple Mouse wants to
Song-hoon
of Korea, and he's not entered, so KMA. Anyway, so Kepespayev's top competition, not here. Anyway, that's what we got. Flying Squirrel, Richard, Flying Squirrel.
Yeah, Flying Squirrel. He's back on a team. He's been trying to work his way back up since he made the Olympic team in 2012, and then he wrestled at the Worlds in 2013.
How is he only 26 is what's beyond me. By the way, like by the time you listen to this, it'll be his birthday. He's 25. He turns 26 on... by the time we finish this podcast, it'll be his birthday. I mean, we're only on Greco, folks.
Yeah, so...
Richard, we might have to break this up into 3 separate shows. You know that, right?
No, we don't. We've only gone 50 minutes. We're good.
Yeah, and we're on like the 6th Greco weight.
Yeah, well, I'm putting it up as 1. If you want to listen, you'll listen. If you don't, you don't.
You're gonna make him wait 3 hours to listen to freestyle. That's great. How you like that? Anyway, continue.
I was gonna say Ellis. He was battle tested domestically. He had those matches with Alex Sancho, and went back and forth. And I'm curious to see how that plays over. A lot of times you see when guys really have to fight to make the team, they do well at the World Championships. So, not a whole lot to say on Ellis. I mean, he's a great talent. He's got a junior world bronze. He's he's got the experience. It's just time to go out there and do it. And he's got the capabilities. It's just time to put it into action. That's about all I got on 66.
Yeah, like I said, I like Kevaspayev here, and him and Surkov. Surkov's probably my guy. Moving forward, what do we got? 22. We got we jump up to 80. Which,
80 kilo.
Richard, if this was 75, it'd be amazing, but it's 80, so seeding points thrown out the window. We've already talked about Vlasov and Madsen being seeded at 71, or 75. They're at 80.
Right. I mean, and that's obviously your Olympic finals rematch. And, Vlasov, I mean, we can just stop there.
Can I just roll through some of the guys this way? Mercelayev. Yeah, kind of a big deal. Let's Mark Madsen. He's been, let's see, let's go. Olympic silver, world silver 15, world silver 2009, 2007, 2005, world bronze 06. The guy can't win. He can win, but he can't win. He's 32 years old, and it's like, can I just get a one by my name once, please, at the World Championships? Great guy too, super funny. He again, another guy that makes watching Greco great. He's a guy I like to watch. Laszlo Szabo from Hungary, definitely one to watch. Of course, Iran's got a world bronze medalist in there with Guderian. Then we got Vlasov. Then we got Atem from Turkey. 80's nasty.
Yeah, well, don't forget Daytonashvili of Georgia.
European skipped over him.
Yeah, I mean, he's a beast. I mean, this is a really deep weight. How funny is it that it seems like the quote-unquote non-Olympic weight classes are like super deep this year? You see it in freestyle with 61 and 70 are just ridiculous. And you're seeing it here, with 80 and 71. It's ridiculously deep weight classes.
Yeah, and you look at the ages. I mean, some of these guys are a little long in the tooth. I mean, Madsen's 32. You're looking at Domakhmedov from Kazakhstan. He's had a pretty good career, never really broken through with a super medal, but he's 31. You get a lot of guys in their 30s here. So, I mean, we've even got a 40-year-old. Where's he from? France? He may not even be the entry because, again, the French have entered 2 or 3 per weight. But this could be the most explosive weight class. And Cheney Hayek coming back.
Absolutely, Cheney.
Where the heck you been?
Hey, Pan Am champ. He's looked good this year. He's got the talent. He's got the experience. I think that's kind of a theme here that we're seeing with the Greco guys. They've got the talent, and it's just a matter of going out and executing.
And he's down a weight too. Well, basically, right. from when we last really saw him at the world level, he'd come back and wrestled some tournaments, but he was in that run at 84. Where before they changed the weights a little bit, where it was like every year there was a different U.S. World Team member. I mean, we saw Chaz Betts there. We saw, Cheney was there. Jay Clark was there. Jordan Holm was there. I mean, T.C. Dantzler. I mean, it was a run of like, okay, who's going to be at 84, 85 this year for the U.S.? So now he's down to 80.
Real quick, let me outline the seeds. The only 2 seeds that will be entered are Aslan Atem of Turkey and Edgar Babayan of Poland, so those 2 will be separated. The other 2 aren't registered to compete.
Richard, I'm going to ask you a question regarding naming conventions. You've been around international wrestling enough. If you see a name that ends in YAN, actually, I've got to preface that. That could also be anyway.
He's not from Poland, is what you're trying to get at.
So my point is like when you see a name, it's like Babayan or something like that.
Armenia.
You're going to see Armenia. You're starting to pick just like you see an Idze or an Adze or a Vili. Where are they
Georgia.
from? Georgia, right?
Georgia. Yeah. See, I know this stuff. Anywho, I think that's good for 80. I like Vlasov, and if anyone can take him down.
Is his lift not a thing of beauty?
It's impeccable. I mean,
the only guy to figure it out in the last 5 years was freaking Bisic.
Yeah, and he really just countered it by sliding.
Like I said, he floated it twice.
Yeah, he
got lucky. I don't know. Better be lucky than good. I don't know. He was waiting for us. Like, okay, watch this.
Yeah, Andy Bisic, where you at, bro? Where you at? I know you're coming back.
He's beekeeping.
I was talking to him in Fargo. He's coming back.
He's beekeeping.
Yeah, beekeeping. Last Greco weight, 130 kilos. And I think you pretty much have one guy here. It's
It's
Reza
not
Kayal.
Lopez.
It's not Lopez. Lopez is out. Reza Kayal, Turkey. He's your 1 seed. You don't have him registered.
Oh,
Jason.
he's registered. Scroll down the bottom.
Oh, sorry. That's 98. Yeah, Reza Kayal.
Yeah, Olympic
It's getting
silver
late.
16, Olympic bronze 12. 19th in 08. This is his, he's 27 years old. He's been on 3 Olympic teams. This guy is, he's going to be 30 on his 4th Olympic team, which is scary. You're talking about a guy that could go for 5. And
yeah, he's.
and thing is, you take away the questionable victories that kind of circle him against Lopez about, his world championship in Turkey and his world championship in Vegas. Take those out of the situation, out of consideration. He has dominated freaking everyone. 6 European titles on the championships, a European Games championship. If it wasn't for Mian Lopez, everybody would be talking about how great Reza Kayal is. And the guy, he's without Lopez in the tournament, he's unbeatable.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. You've got other guys in there that add depth to the weight class. He'll be separated from Shariati of Azerbaijan, Olympic bronze, and those are the only 2 seeded guys. But then you've got the Russian Sergei Simonov, who's very tough, young, up-and-coming guy. Heki Nabi's still in there.
God, he's old too.
Yeah,
but we say old, he's younger than me. He won a world championship in 06.
Yeah, down a weight though. Down a weight.
Yeah, and he technically won a world championship in 13 because somebody didn't pass the P test.
Correct.
Yeah,
but those are pretty much the guys you're going to watch. The field is thinned out across the top with Lopez out, and I think that that clearly makes room for a medal. Robbie Smith. Let's talk about our USA guy. He's one of those guys that can slide into that medal slot, and he's wrestled for a medal before. He's been 5th in the world twice. Had that great match in Vegas where he.
How much
came
do you think
close.
He wants another shot against Bial Makov? Do you think he just?
It
may not be wrestling. He might want to play him in foosball or darts or something, just to say, yeah, you know what? I took you down. I had you then. I'm going to get you in something else now too. I just think he wants to something else.
Yeah, he was pinned. No mistake about it. He was pinned. Anywho, so Robbie, he hasn't competed as much since the Olympics, but he again, like these other guys, has the experience, and he's another one of our strong medal threats. On the Greco-Roman side, he's just going to have to beat a guy like Heki Nabi to do it, or he's going to have to beat a guy, like the Russian Simonov to get a medal, or the Azerbaijan guy he lost to in Rio last year. He was actually winning that match 2-0 in the second period, but before he got put down and turned and ended up losing that, and that guy won the bronze. So he's right there. That's about all I got on 130. It's Reza Kayal's world.
Yeah, the depth here, you're right. Not as imposing as it could be.
Right. It's really not. You got a couple guys that have elected not to compete this year. You got guys like the Abdullayev guy of Uzbekistan, who's formidable, but he's not, unbeatable.
Yeah,
he's good.
Couple of Olympic teams, but he's not been on the podium.
I should say solid. Then you got Edward Pop is solid. Those kind of guys. But
Balint Lamb,
right. Same sort of tier.
That's a guy I'm really looking to break through here. Junior World Champion 12, represent Team Pattaya. That's it. I think it's ready for a guy like that to break out because for ages it was Mihaly Bardos who was in every World Championship final ever. And now finally, he's 40 years old, so he finally retired. Balint Lam is kind of the guy that I'm kind of the next great Hungarian silver medalist.
All right, Jason, we are at the 1 hour mark. Exactly.
In Greco.
In Greco. We're done with Greco. So yeah, we might have to do. If we hit 3 hours, we might have to break this up hour by hour.
I'm just wondering, you gonna let me go? You gonna let me rehydrate here?
Stay woke.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.